Okay, so Chris here. I'm talking to you from Sydney, New South Wales, and in this Anglican, well, the building is owned by majority owned by Anglicans. I'm in one of the few units. I think there's 5 left, 4 left, 5 left that are not owned by the Anglicans. In my opinion, they want to own all the buildings, all the units in the building. Excuse me. So in this video, I'm going to show you an example of bullying. I think it's bullying. This unit does not belong to the Anglican Church. It does not belong to Moore Theological Bible College. There's no reason that the property manager or his goon utility guy has to be near my unit. There's a little tiny lawn outside my window, and there's no reason for the utility guy to stand there the way he does. In this video, you'll see. But this is an example of bullying, like I said, and when the Anglican Church, or these guys, the property manager, or the Anglican students here as well, don't get their own way. They use aggression and violence to threaten you, and they gang up with each other like a bunch of pack animals. They act in, they use numbers, and they act in ways to intimidate. It looks on the outside as if they're just laughing and joking and having a good time, but they're not really. They're just intimidating you, showing their solidarity. Bullying, in my view, has been one of their main tactics to get what they want. So they'll make demands or requests, then the requests turn to demands, and if you don't comply with their demands or acquiesce, then they they get more aggressive. And if you still don't acquiesce, if you still don't go with what they want, then they use manipulations, social manipulations, political manipulations, financial manipulations. And if you still don't do what they want, then they use aggression. They have lots of rich lawyer friends, lots of political friends. There's lots of laws that are made that they take advantage of, lots of loopholes. In my opinion, they're really connected. In my opinion, the Anglican Church has lobbies and influences the government. For example, I've talked about metadata retention. Rufus Black is responsible for that. R-U-F-U-S Black. He's responsible for that. Well, not responsible. I don't know what part he played, but he was a security advisor for the previous leader of Australia, Tony Abbott. As far as I can see, the Anglican Church still has influence in the government. Premier Baird is an Anglican. The Minister of the New South Wales Minister of Planning is an Anglican. And as far as I can see, they have massive influence in the government and an agenda. I think that lots of the behavior that's happened here by Anglicans, Presbyterians, and Baptists, because they're all the same and they're grouped together and they're affiliates with each other, I think that they have an agenda. And in the things that I've seen with computer crimes and the break-ins, I think that they have elite knowledge that not very many people in the world really know about. I think they've accessed every one of our machines, even when I've removed the wireless cards and Bluetooth cards. So very, very powerful technology and attack techniques. One of them, which I call Incenra, I've talked about before. So they're very connected, very, very rich. They have powerful computer attack techniques. They've attacked every one of our machines, even when they're air-gapped. And they control the machine. They can plant data. They can remove data. They can falsify data. They can corrupt files. They can do anything they want with the machines. So very, very, very dangerous. And to be connected to politics and political espionage and spying and stealing ideas and yada, 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 on and on and on. The financial rewards of their crimes is massive. They're basically a mafia, in my opinion. Here I'm going to show you a video of the property manager and his goon, the big goon guy that came to our door, one day. They had no right to be here. I received no, warning or word from my real estate agent. They just showed up. And what you're going to see is I had my camera packed away, so they didn't know I had a camera, because the unit next door, Games Fovley, I call him, in the unit next door to me, I think he scans for digital equipment. He probably scanned for cameras and was looking for identity for camera and didn't find one, so I didn't have one. So when they came to the unit, they didn't think I had any cameras. Mine was packed away, so it took a couple minutes to get it packed, put together. So keep in mind that when he's standing at the window, you're going to see him standing at the window. He stands there for a long time. He's there for over 4 minutes, over 5 minutes, just standing in that one spot. First he was looking at the window, which I had a problem with, which is another story for another day. But they put in new windows in the building, and the window they undercut, so that when you opened it, when you spread it apart, the two panes, it's got an upper pane and a lower pane. When you spread it apart, the lock separated, so it didn't work. And I complained about it, and I mentioned it. I think it was done on purpose to provide deniability, because they've come in the unit, and I think that they did that on purpose so that they could say, well, look, your lock doesn't work. That's how they got in the unit. It could have been anybody, Chris. I think they designed it that way on purpose, because it was a centimeter off, and that was before the settling. When they first put the window in, it was centimeter off gap. That means it moved up and down like a centimeter on one side. It was uneven on one side. So I think they did that on purpose. They also left out the seal on the upper window, the outer seal. So bad workmanship, or on purpose, whatever you want to call it. I think it's on purpose. So he stood at that window for several minutes. When I finally got my camera together and I looked out, I got him just for a few seconds on the film, but he was there for a long time. And then what he did was he moved over to the door, and then he shakes the tree. And he moves to the door and he shakes the tree. But what he really wants to do is he wants to screw with my screen. Now all this time, the property manager is right there at the next unit. He's watching all this, and he's got his camera out like this. He holds it in front of him. He has his, I call it an angler grin. He has his angler grin like this. This constant grin on his face. And he's got his camera out and he's pointed at the door. I think what he wanted to do was he wanted to get my feathers ruffled. He wanted to get my goat. And then he wanted me to go out the door and, get aggressive with the dude, with his worker. And then he could get me on film and say that I was the aggressive one, when the whole time since I've lived here, they've been aggressive. Like for example, one day, the same guy that stands at the window stood staring at me for over a minute. I walked to my door to see what the noise was in the unit next to me, because the guy had apparently supposed to be gone, and yet there's utility guys going in and out of his unit, which is a security risk, having strangers in units around you, and the high activity constantly for 2 weeks. So I looked at my door to see who it is. This guy that you see in a minute here standing at my window, he stared at me like for 45 seconds to a minute, maybe longer, maybe a minute and a half, maybe 90 seconds. He stood there staring at me. Then he walked away, then he turned around and stared at me again, staring me down, like intimidation. Now the property manager did the exact same thing, stared at me for a minute and a half, just stood there staring at me with an angler grin. Never said nothing, just stared at you, intimidating you, want to make you, their intent is to break you. They'll break you any way they can. If you don't join them, they'll break you. And if they don't break you, they'll wound you, or financially, or psychologically, or physically. So, stared at me for a minute and a half. So both people did the whole staring contest thing like children, like high school bullies. So after he shook the tree, he shakes the tree, but only so that he can justify being near the door. And then I had tape on my screen door, because the Anglicans, they had keys. They used to put keys in the screen door and unlock it. And then I'd come down and see my screen door was unlocked. So I put tape over it, because I didn't want them, putting the keys inside the screen door lock. So I figured I'll put tape on it, and it'll make it a little bit more difficult. At least they'll have to stand by the door and take the tape off, and it might give me an indication that they were there. So the property manager's goon, he goes and marks the tape, makes a scratch in it. it was perfectly fine before he was there, and then after he was there, because I looked in the morning, I look every morning, and after he was there, and there was a mark on it, so I know he did it. And then after that, he stood with his back to the screen, like with his back right to the screen, because I came down and looked out the screen, and out the blinds in the front window, and he had his back right against the screen. Like if I opened my door, I would have seen his back rubbing on my screen. Like so, I opened the door and I looked at him. He's right there. So I'm going to show you the video, and this is an example of Anglican bullying. So here we go. So I'm going to watch this here, and okay, so that's the dude. This happened last year, December, so I'm just going to rewind it a bit. And that's a fun police cop that was hanging out above our building for about 20 minutes. I'm going to use that one day in a music video, I think. So here he is. This is him. If it's hard to see, it's a bit difficult to see, but there he is. Now he stood in that spot. That's right where my window is. That's his fat belly. He stood right in that spot for over 4 or 5 minutes. Here is my window. Here's the window for my unit, for my upstairs bedroom window. That is my front window. If he reached out his arm a couple feet, like if he just went like this, I can't see very well, but if he just went like this, he would have touched my window. So he stands there, and he stands there in front of my window for a good 4 or 5 minutes. That's too intimidating. This isn't his property. This is like right in front of my window. If he would have leaned back with his butt, he would have banged into the front window. So then he goes from here and he goes to my front door, and you'll see him shake the tree. So then he goes. I'll put it in a slow-mo. So then he goes and he walks to the front. See? Now here's the tree. You'll see the tree right there. Now he walks to the front. There's my windowsill. There's the windowsill of the new window they put in. So he walks. This is my front path. This is my front door. He's probably 12 inches away from my front door right now. So here's here is the tree that's in front of our unit, and there he is right in front of our door. He's got no right to be doing this. This is complete provocation. Now bear in mind, here's the front path, which is about maybe a meter. Now if you go a meter to the right, that's the other unit. Now there's 2 meters to the right. Our doors are basically like side by side. There's 1.5 meters between us. So the property manager, the property manager for Moore College, is 2 meters away from him, and he's facing him with his camera. So, like I said before, he's got his camera like this. So the Moore property manager has his camera out like this, and he's got his Anglican, and he's got his camera, and he's playing with this camera, but the lens of the camera is facing out. So I think he's like just waiting for me to get pissed off. So here he is. He's standing in front of my door, and then what does he do? Well, he shakes the tree because he's screwing with my lock right now, I think. So he goes and he shakes the tree. There he's. I'm gonna play it. So I'll play it there. Oh, he shakes the tree, and then I go downstairs. So there you see he shakes the tree. You see him there shaking it. Yeah, see, he walks over to the tree and he gives it a little shake, see? I'll show you the top branches. Yeah, see, he shakes it. So he had no right to be anywhere near here, so he goes over there and shakes it. Right then I hear him touch the screen door handle, so let's watch it again. So there he stands over there, he's looking at the other building. That's the donor house building across the way he's looking at. See? It's almost like he's looking at the camera. So he walks over to my front unit, shakes the tree, and then here he is standing here. Now, what you got to bear in mind is that at this point, I go downstairs. At this point, he's at my front door here. So I go downstairs and I look out the front window because I got blinds, and I see him, and his back is like right against my door. Like, for example, if this is my screen door, let's just say this speaker's my screen door, my front screen door. His back, he's standing against my screen door like this. He may not be touching it, but he might as well be. He's just about there. I can see him from the window, and he's right in front of he's got his back to my screen door like this. Now this is my screen door, and this here is his back, and he's almost touching it. So I see this, so I go to open up my door, and it takes a second to open the door. It takes a second to open up the front door. So he hears me, and he backs away. So what you're going to see is what he does when he backs away from my door. So I open the door, and I look, the camera goes there. So I open up the door, right? I open up the door, and the camera's outside. Let's see. Play? It should play. Let's see if it plays. Sound. So there he is. He laughs. He mocks. That's what they do. They intimidate. Then he's looking at the property manager right now. He's looking. He looks at me, and then he realizes I have a camera because he didn't think I had a camera. So then he's staring at me, and this is what he does. He just stares at you like that, and he tries to intimidate you. Just a sec. I'm gonna see if I can get sound here. I don't know why I'm not getting any sound. Yeah, sorry about that. Like I said, I don't have any computer, so I can't edit any of this stuff. I'm gonna try and get sound here. Because I want to show you him laughing. I want to show you him laughing. Because he laughs, eh? And then he mocks. And he tries to intimidate you with mocking. Okay. Yeah, see? Okay. So here. Here's 63. So he stands there and he says, "What's going on?" See, he doesn't think I have a camera. So I open up the door, and I gotta see, when I open up my door, it's a fresh open. I'm not at the door, so I unlock it. I open up the door, and where is he? He heard me. He heard me opening it because he moved back, because he was standing. Remember I said he was standing with his back right to the screen. So he hears the door open, and instead of walking away, he just stands right in front, blocks it off like a bully. See, that's where he was when I opened up my door. He didn't move there. As a matter of fact, he starts moving away right now when he sees me with the camera. So, here, well, listen to what he has to say. First he says, "What's going on here?"
What's going on?
Now he looks over, he looks over at the property manager, and he laughs. He's mocking me, because I got a camera. He looks over at the property manager, who has a camera as well. And then he says,
Video.
He says, "What's going on?" "Oh, we're being videoed."
Video.
And then the property manager goes, "Video? He's got a video camera."
What's going on? Video.
We're being videoed.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Ah. See,
Video.
the property manager didn't know I had a camera. He's always there. Previous to this point, the property manager was there almost every month, twice, hanging out at that unit. Like I said, that guy over there, the computer attacker, that's training to be a superhero computer attacker, working for Australian government, cyber terrorism agency or whatever. He is babied like crazy. People walking back and forth, holding his hand. The property manager for Moore Theological Bible College is over there like sometimes twice a month, previous to this day, previous to getting him on video. and sometimes more. Sometimes once every 2 weeks, consistently. They go in that unit, do something, rattle around with the pipes, do something, bang on the wall, whatever, and then go out again. So yeah, so he's there, and he's surprised that I have a camera. See, so the property manager goes,
Video. Video.
and then he goes, he's pretty suspicious. See, this is another thing too. They try to make you look like the one that's suspicious. They had no right to be at my door. They had no right to be at my screen like that. They're bullies. And then they turn around and say, he's a bit suspicious. Well, they've been, breaking my computer since I moved here. They told me that, one of the students that lived in the other corner there, he's got a job now with a big Sydney job with a big Sydney diocese, one of the major churches in Sydney here. He told me that it might be a good idea for some people to leave, that they don't belong in seminary atmospheres. So he says, we're being videoed. And then the property manager of Moore Theological Bible College, is 2016 now. He was property manager since 2013. As far as I know, he's been property manager for a long time. He was being videoed, and the property manager goes, yeah. And then this guy goes, be suspicious. And so I'll play the whole thing. I don't know how much you can hear. I'll play the whole thing straight through.
What's going on? Doing video.
Yeah, see, pretty suspicious. And then he looks through the tree and he stares, and then he stares at you, and that's exactly what he does before. He's got a smile on his face, and then he stares at you, intimidating you, trying to make you insecure, trying to intimidate you, right? Oh, there's the property manager right there. Stands there with his phone. His head down. He's right by the other unit, and he's right there. He was standing there the whole time. See? And then he sits there with his phone, and he waits for me to come out and say something or do something. Because I caught him and his crew doing wrong. Namely, breaking into our computers, and I also know that I think, and have seen evidence that they came into this unit when we were not here. Not to mention the intimidation, the bullying, and just the simple nastiness. There, see? That's the screen door for the other unit. He opens the screen door that's how close we are. So he knew the whole time, so he goes into the unit there. There's a utility guy in there, right, for some reason. And, he used to do that all the time. They stopped when I got the video. They haven't been here since, but he used to be here, like I said, at least once a month, sometimes 2 times a month, sometimes more. And he used to stand at that door, and while someone went into that unit, babysitting games fully, and doing whatever. I mean, how many light bulbs do you got to change? How many times you got to, go into a unit to take care of it? I've lived here for 3 years now, and I've had two hot water guy come twice because the hot water broke, and that's about it. So that's an example of bullying. They had no right to be here. They had no right to stand in front of my unit like that. They had no right to shake the tree. They had no right to grab my screen and rattle my screen handle. They had no right to stand in front of my screen like that. And that's nothing. That is nothing compared to the other things that has happened here and that they've done to us. These Anglicans and Presbyterians and Baptists, it's consistent on a daily basis. Their harassment. They're arrogant. They're nasty. They're vicious. They're sadistic. They're did I say malicious? Etc. etc. Just nasty people. They don't want to share anything with anyone. They want this property. They want the whole building. They're making it look now like they don't care, like they're interested in something else, and they keep saying, oh, we're not interested in buying it. But that's only because I voiced it. That's only because I spoke up, and that's only because I vocalized, and that's only because I said what you're doing is wrong, and because I spoke out loud about it, and because I said what things that, I openly voiced the things that they're doing, and the computer crimes, etc. So really, this goes on and on and on, and they're doing it here. I'm certain they're doing it in other places. I'm certain they're using these same techniques and tactics in business, in property acquisition, in politics, in everything. They sit there and pretend they're your friend, and they smile at your face, and then they stick you in the back. They're immoral, and they say they're ethical, but their framework of ethics is completely completely corrupted. They justify all their behavior with their ethics, and yet it's completely corrupted and wicked, evil, and yet they use it to justify the behavior that they want to promote and justify. They have an agenda and they want to justify it. They can't justify it in the Bible, so they create a system of ethics. Remember, this church, the Anglicans, was created by King Henry VIII, and the only reason he started the church was because he wanted to sleep with another woman, and the Catholic Church wouldn't let him get divorced. How many wives did he murder? He's a murderer, an adulterer, a thief, a cheat, and a conniver. He created myth about his position as a king based on Arthurian legend that he found in some dusty old book in some pile somewhere. Really a bad person, and this is the guy who created the Anglican Church. And to me, the Anglican Church has not really gone very much farther than he did. All these behaviors that they do and these justifications and that they have for their behavior, I'm sure that they justified what they did out there in front of our unit and said, it's nothing, you're making a big deal about nothing. But let's just say it was a single woman or a single mom, or let's just say kids were in the house and this big fat man's outside the door, and they're intimidating this single mom or kids or whatever to scare them so that they leave, so that they can purchase the unit. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just wrong. So this is completely wrong, and it won't stop. It happens constantly, and even when you say something, they back off for about a week or two, and then they continue right on. So that's why I'm documenting it, and that's why I'm putting it online. I'm sure that they'll try and make a way that force me to pull it off, say that I don't have their permission to put their images online, or they'll try to push their lobbyists in government to try and make new laws that I can't do this, but that's wrong. And I've held off for a long time, but this behavior continues going on and on and on, and these people can't be reasoned with. Even if you get loud and vocal in their face, they don't listen. They are wrapped up in their own reality, their false reality. They see the world the way they want to. Nobody else exists, and they get what they want. And if they don't get what they want, they bully up with each other. They gang up on their target, and if they can't crush you, they'll get rid of you somehow. So hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully if I can put this up and keep working on this camera, hopefully they don't break it like they broke my other one. Hopefully I can make some other videos and put some other stuff up. Okay, thanks a lot for watching, and have a good day.